Hey friends, what's up? How's it going? Okay, I am back for a second. I'm going to move this for a second. I am back for a second demonstration for you guys, and I'm going to talk about the seasons. So you might be thinking, why are we talking about the seasons in the solar system unit when the seasons have to do with the weather? Well, folks, the seasons do have to do with the weather, for sure. But what causes the seasons has everything to do with the relationship between the sun and the earth, okay? So two factors play into the fact that we have seasons. One of those factors is something that you learned about in your last exploration, which is the revolution of the earth around the sun. The second factor is the tilt of the axis. So I talked about in the last video that the earth is tilted on an axis of about 23.5 degrees. So if it was a 0 degrees, it would be here. That means it's straight up and down. If it was 90 degrees, right, so here is 0, then 90 degrees would be down here. So earth would be like this if it was tilted on a 90-degree axis. But they've already, this beautiful little globe already did it for me. It took that 0 degrees and turned it into 23 degrees, 23.5. So we're tilted on this angle, and it's the tilt of the angle together with the revolution that causes the seasons that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the lamp. It's going to be harder to see my beautiful face, but that's okay. So once we have this lamp on, you're going to notice, I'm going to put it over here. Okay. You're going to notice, no, let's put it over here. Yeah, that works. Okay. So when the earth is over here, in the southern hemisphere, which is under the equator line, okay? So the equator line is this like invisible line that's drawn on this particular globe, but it's really an invisible line. It just marks the middle of the earth, okay? So under the equator is what we call the southern hemisphere. So when the earth is over here, the southern hemisphere is getting more sunlight than the northern hemisphere. Let me pull this a little bit over so you can see better. So as the earth rotates every day, that southern hemisphere is getting way more sunlight, right? Because it's faced kind of more towards the sun. So in the northern hemisphere right now, it would be winter time. And in the southern hemisphere, it would be summertime, okay? Then, and it's rotating this whole time, and it starts to slowly over the year revolve around the sun. And when it gets to about this point, both the northern and southern hemisphere are getting about the same amount of sunlight. And that would be your springtime season in the northern hemisphere. If we're at winter, spring, it starts to get a little bit nicer out. Then as we move over to this side, about a half a year has passed by. We're halfway around the sun. And now the northern hemisphere, you'll notice, is tilted towards the sun. So now the northern hemisphere is getting way more sunlight, and that's our summer. So it's actually summertime in the northern hemisphere, and it's wintertime in the southern hemisphere. So if you go to Australia during our summer, it's actually their winter. Pretty wild. And then it continues to go around until we would consider this fall. The weather's starting to change again, and then it goes back into winter, and that's 365 days. So it's not that this earth is getting closer to the sun in the summertime and further away in the wintertime. That is not what causes these seasons to happen. It is the fact that it is, one, revolving around the sun, and two, the major factor here is that we have this tilt of the axis. And that is my dog barking because he wants to go outside. So I'm going to go let him out, and hopefully you guys have learned a little bit more about the seasons and can continue on with this exploration.